you're watching Half Asian Tarot Queen. I'm Elisa. Happy New Year. I already did a reading for like the day, New Year's Day, and now I'm doing a reading for 2021, the year. I did a 2020, the year last year, and so I'm going to do it again. I'm starting with the Radiant Wise Spirit Tarot, and right when I pulled it out of the deck, I got the Six of Wands, which is a card of victory, and, you know, overcoming some difficult stuff, which I think is pretty appropriate because, you know, obviously 2020 was a really rough year, and I think it really kind of cleared the slate for a lot of people, and I mean, the beautiful thing about that is that it's kind of given us an opening now to create a new life, and I think everyone's kind of having to do that. I mean, the entire global economy has gone through a huge shift. I think the way that we all engage with the world is shifting in a really profound, significant way, and we're all just kind of trying to figure out how we fit with that. And it's wild and woolly and exciting. 2020, the year, was all about, you know, obviously this profound transformation that was happening. But then I also feel like there was a lot of lessons about self-love that came through. I mean, I think we all had to take time to reflect, and inevitably there was a lot of inner work that happened and a lot of healing on like an energetic level, I think, for a lot of people. So it'll be interesting to see what comes through for 2021. I'm just starting with this Radiant Wise deck, and I'm pulling some overall sort of energies to start. Okay. Oh my gosh. When I first pulled out the deck and I first split it, you know, this card came through, and I just kept shuffling, but then it just came out through on the bottom again. So I think that's a significant message. So this is a Two of Wands, and it kind of speaks to a turning point. So it's just sort of like you're kind of at a fork in the road, and it's like you're going to go one way or the other way. Like you're not really going to keep going the way that you've been going. Like that's not really an option anymore. So it's just sort of like you're kind of at the fork of the road, and you're kind of deciding like which way you're gonna go. And I feel like that's really appropriate because, you know, obviously there's been these profound transformations that have happened, and we're all having to figure out how we're going to engage, you know, because the way that business as usual, this was coming through a lot in the readings at the end of the year, no longer applies. Like things have changed, and like we either are going to adapt and change with the times, or we're going to be left behind, you know. I mean, that's just the way it works. So the cards, I got the Wheel of Fortune, I got the Six of Cups, the Six of Pentacles, the Emperor, and the King of Cups. So this is really, I think it's a beautiful message. But, you know, obviously, like I was saying, you know, times have changed, like, and we have to change with it. You know, there's a big shift that's coming through, and this is really interesting. What that fell on top of, but I'll get to that. We have the Six of Cups, so this speaks to like a deep soul connection, you know, maybe someone from the past, or someone that you grew up with, or someone that you have a history with, you know, and this speaks to this deep connection. So maybe there's a change with that connection, but then we have the Six of Pentacles. So this is a card of like giving and receiving, and like bringing that into balance. So oftentimes, I mean, when we're in relationship with people, things can get out of whack, you know, like one person can be giving way too much, and another person can be taking, and sometimes balance needs to be restored, you know, and this card speaks to that. So this is really interesting. Like, there's some big shifts coming through with relationship. And then, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. I had pulled some cards from another deck just to kind of try to make this reading more efficient. But the next card, I got the Emperor. And it's interesting because this fell out on top of another Emperor from another deck. So it's just like, oh my gosh, this is totally a card of empowerment. And I think that message was coming through a lot as well with the New Year reading in particular, the New Year's Day. But you know, like I was saying, you know, in 2020 there was a lot of inner work and healing that went on, and so now we're like stepping into our power and kind of taking ownership of our own life. And then we have the King of Cups. It's so crazy what this falls on top of. I'm going to get to it, but the King of Cups is someone who operates from a place of balance. Like, the emotions are balanced, and they're operating from a heart-centered place, you know, but they're in command of their emotions. And so this is like a fair and just king who you know, has empathy for other people. So it's just sort of like, it's interesting because in one of the readings at the end of the year, and I can't remember which one, but I was talking about how, you know, business as usual isn't really going to work anymore. Like, it's like the people who are thriving in this new era are people who have strong communities around them, you know, people who operate from a fair and just place, you know, like there's going to be more value placed on that in this new economic reality. So that's, I think, a really positive message. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. But, you know, basically overall what I'm getting so far is that obviously there's a big shift coming through, and there's rebalancing and restructuring of like all of our like relationship structures. And there's a message of empowerment coming through, and particularly for people operating from a balanced, heart-centered place. So I think that's really good. You know, there has been this sort of like, for a long time, this sort of like 80s value system where it's just like money rules the day, you know, like it doesn't matter who you have to screw over or what you have to do, as long as you bring home the bacon, like it doesn't matter, you know. But I think that's changing. Okay, so I'm going now to the Mystical Shaman Oracle. And it's crazy because, again, like there's some similar messages coming through. But we have the Coyote. So this is a card of like detours, you know, like things not going how you expect. Like there's obviously a big shift underway, and like business as usual isn't going to apply anymore. Like things have changed, you know, but like part of the message of this card is that there's a lesson to be learned in this new reality that you're meant to learn. So, you know, don't spend a lot of energy getting frustrated about how things aren't going the way that you anticipate, because there's a blessing in this new way, even if you might not see it yet. So, yeah, the Coyote, it speaks to upheaval and change, you know, but it's kind of like they say, like everything happens for a reason. And especially when it first shifts and things first change, like it might not be obvious what that reason is, and it can be really frustrating. But this card speaks to there being a profound blessing, you know, when you can be open to the lesson. So then we have the Hummingbird, the Journey, and the Circle. So the Hummingbird, this is a sweet little bird, you know, that you can take for granted, because it's just like, it's just a little bird, but like actually this bird is like kind of got like a warrior spirit, and it's like fierce. I mean, this bird can travel really long distances, and it will really like fight to defend itself, you know. So it's just like, don't be taken for granted the power of this hummingbird. You know, this hummingbird is like a fighter, you know. And we've got the journey, you know. It's interesting how there's like birds. This is wearing an owl headdress. Like there's birds all throughout this. But this speaks to taking a journey that's like outside of your comfort zone, you know. Like, I mean, things are not going to go as we anticipate, but there's a blessing by taking this journey, you know. So trust and have faith, and follow the journey. And then we have the circle. So this is a card of community, and it's a card of being part of something larger than ourselves, and it's a card of oneness. You know, all of us are connected to a larger community of people around us, but also, you know, we have the spiritual world around us. So we're like never alone. We're all part of everything, you know. And so it's funny that like right when I'm saying that, my mom comes and interrupts the reading. Yeah, I mean, for me, an example, so like the coyote is like, you know, my mom. Like, I've been caring for my mom because she has dementia, and it's really wild, you know, because they talk about how people with dementia are tapped into this sort of wisdom that we all can't see, you know. And so spending so much time with her, like, I feel like I'm kind of benefiting from that connection, you know. But this is going to be a year of upheaval and change, and it's going to be, you know, we're going to have to really like be little warriors, you know, and follow this journey. And it might be really unsettling, but know that this is all part of a larger plan. So, wow, this is all leading us somewhere way outside of our comfort zone and beyond what we have come to understand about the world, you know, because this is a time of profound change this year. So, okay, so I'm going to go to the Urban Tarot. I pre-pulled some cards, and I actually, on the bottom of the deck, I had pulled the Kindergarten Teacher, which is the Princess of Discs. And this is interesting because it's kind of like a tangible new beginning that's showing up. But particularly like with the Kindergarten Teacher, I think this message is the Kindergarten Teacher is like a steward of this new life. I mean, the Kindergarten Teacher stewards these young little ones, you know, through this sort of like beginning blossoming in life, you know. And I think we're all kind of walking through that in life in a certain way. And so I had laid this out because I didn't have time to record the video, and I had it laid out, and my mom came through here and she like stepped on the cards and tripped over the deck and like split the bottom of the deck so that this card was exposed, the Lovers. And so I thought that was really interesting because this is, you know, this is a card of a deep soul connection, and it also can be a card of like reconciling parts of ourselves. And I think that's really interesting because the message for 2020 was really all about like healing things from the past and a card of self-love. And so I think, you know, in reconciling those sort of elements that were sort of distorted or lost, we come to this sort of like new place of wholeness, a new place of oneness. And this might lead us to a deep love connection, or it might just be like within ourselves. But I think that's an important message. Okay, so then I got Death, the Filmmaker, the Moon, the Emperor again, and the Therapist. So, you know, obviously this is a card of profound change. It's interesting that this fell out with the Wheel of Fortune. So, you know, huge transformations that are coming through, you know, and we have the Prince of Cups, which I always have like a special message with this card, and I have a reading about it. It's called This Is My Movie, but it's just sort of like, this is a creator, you know, and he's like creating the landscape of his life. You know, it's like he's the director, he's the cinematographer, he, you know, writes the script like this is his movie, you know. And so it's just like we're going through this profound transformation, like everything's been leveled and we have to like create this new life, you know. And then that's followed by the Moon, you know, so this is a card of emotion and like the unseen realms, and things maybe not being as they appear on the surface, but kind of how I'm taking it in this reading is just like having to really dig deep, you know, to bring forward what's coming next. I mean, because we're all having to fight with these crazy circumstances and overcome. Like, we're all in the stage of overcoming. So it's like, I think it's going to require, like, we're going to have to, like, dig deep to bring forward this new reality. But in doing that, we have the Emperor. So this is, you know, this is a card of empowerment. It's a card of stepping into your power. And, you know, like I said, these two fell out together. So it's a double message. And then we got the Therapist, or the Queen of Cups, which is interesting because it fell out with the King of Cups. So this is a matched pair, which is interesting because, like I said, like there might be opportunity for this deep connection here. And this is, you know, operating from a heart-centered place. But the Therapist, I think, speaks to reconciling, again, like I was saying, and healing lost parts of ourselves, you know, and doing that work and, like, that empowering us and integrating parts of ourselves. So it's just like, oh my gosh, this is like a really beautiful. Then on the next row, I got Virtue, I got the Hanged Man, the Dancer, the High Priestess, and the Sun. So I think this really speaks to, like, this year is going to be, it's going to be a difficult year, but it's also going to be like a really important year that's laying the foundation for so much of the future. I mean, this is a huge turning point of a year. I mean, we have this profound transformation, and that falls with the Three of Wands, which is a card of manifesting and seeing off in the distance, like what you're trying to bring forward. You know, in here in this deck, it's like Virtue. Like, we're tired of business as usual, and we want to bring forward this new reality that we feel good about, you know. We have a card of the Hangman next, which is the card of taking a step back and having perspective, you know, and maybe having to sacrifice things to bring forward this new reality that we're envisioning. But there's this passionate new spark that's going to reveal itself. And we're going to have to, like, dig deep to bring this forward. But it's interesting because I have the High Priestess falling right underneath the Emperor, which this is a really interesting combination because this speaks to empowerment from, like, a sort of like a male version of empowerment, you know, where it's very active and, like, achieving specific outcomes that you've, you know, delineated. Whereas this is a card of empowerment from the other direction, a card of empowerment through allowing, and a card of empowerment through being aligned with the highest good and allowing things to unfold. So it's interesting that these are both very powerful figures, but from completely different approaches, completely opposite. So I think it's really interesting that these come together, because when you combine these two powers together, it's just like all-encompassing, you know. I mean, this is such a powerful combination and such this powerful dynamic. If you can bring these two things together towards a common aim, it's just like, wow, like that's this unstoppable, undeniable force. But then also, I think this speaks to integration, you know, which is this theme that's been coming through a lot in this reading. Integrating, like, and healing, sort of like opposing camps, you know, and working together towards this common goal, which, I mean, the world needs that more than anything right now. I mean, even one example, like you can talk about, like in the US, for example, like our political climate has gotten so polarized, and it's like these camps, and they're just like fighting with each other in this deadlock, so that like no progress ever happens, because we're just like sort of locked into it. But like in order to heal that, like what we need to be able to come together towards a common aim, instead of having like two dysfunctional parts that can't work together, you know. So like I think bringing all of this together into a community towards a common goal is, I mean, that's really inspiring. That's what's going to heal the world, and what we need in order to move forward through these difficult times. So then I have like the Sun, which is the happiest, best card in the deck. It's a card of happiness, fulfillment, family. Comes right under this Queen of Cups, under this therapy and under this healing of these wounds, and integrating this matched set. So this is really, really interesting, because I think it speaks to like a new era of cooperation that's like kind of coming through, and that's what it's going to take to heal the world from where we're at right now. You know, we can't go forward the way that we have been. Like we have to make a change, and we're going to have to work together to rebuild. So, okay, I'm going to pick a final card from the Oracle of Seven Energies, which is a new deck I got for Christmas. And I really love this deck, and I just got it though, so I mean, I'm still figuring it out, but this is an exciting year. There's a lot of potential and healing that's coming through. I'm excited about like all the positive and big changes. I mean, I've been kind of trying to think about my intentions for the future. I mean, I've been dealing with a family emergency for all of 2020, so I want to get back to work and get back to my life, but also just like how I'm going to. It's really funny, the moments that my mom keeps interrupting in this video, I think are really telling. Okay, so the card I got was Exposed and Revealed. I'm going to read to you from the deck. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's crazy. I've been trying to think about, you know, what my intentions are going to be. I think like one intention that I have. So, okay, so this is just between you and me, but I'm turning 50 this year. So I've always been kind of this low maintenance, like, slob, and like I think I've, you know, that's worked for me, but I'm thinking I'm, you know, wanting to step into my power and class it up a little this year, so there might be some experimentation happening with that in the future. But besides going back to work. So, okay, I'm reading you this card. The key concepts: healing shame, the imposter syndrome, letting go of self-condemnation, freedom from past unresolved healed wounds, focusing on self-worth, the underlying beauty, and rejection. When you experience shame, you don't just feel you've done something wrong, you feel like you are wrong, fundamentally flawed. Know that life loves you and the universe doesn't make junk, only magic. However, many social interactions, especially online, are steeped in distorted, unhealthy ways of expressing pain by shaming. Here's the way out of this. See shame as the heart-wrenching cry for help that it is. Consider whether you could have been triggered in the outer world by unresolved issues that matched all your inner pain points. If someone is shaming you, perhaps you have triggered them. How miserable they must be to expend their energy on such toxicity. They are drinking poison, hoping you will get sick. You cannot love someone out of their shame. You can only show compassion for both them and yourself, setting a healthy boundary and refuse to fan the flames. Look upon shame as an opportunity for growth, evolution, healing, and freedom. With this in mind, can you let go of your attachment to control? Admit that this emotion isn't something that you have power over and surrender to a higher power. There is a sacred quality to the vulnerability inherent in admitting you can't do this alone. When you allow yourself to be laid open in this way, you gain a beautiful new perspective. Then the healed shame has the infinite power of the divine to set you free. Wow, that's so perfect. I mean, I think that speaks to this integration event that I was talking about and the healing, which is going to pave the way for this new world. I mean, we're all going to have to work together in community, and that's the way forward. So that's a message for 2021. Good luck. I'm looking forward to seeing how this all evolves, and I'm really excited and hopeful about the future and ready to start with a fresh perspective and a clean slate. So I'll be back soon with some more messages. I think I might do one for January. We'll see, and Happy New Year.